Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. This is Rob here from Monster Fuzz podcast, and with me is
It's Eamon.
Who was just taking a drink, were you?
Sorry, yeah, I just took a drink or something,
Nice.
And then you were like, I thought you might waffle a bit longer, but you're like, who's with me? And I was like, swallow. So need a refreshing drink for the day that's in.
Yeah, of course, you have to lubricate the throat for the podcast. Is very important. Just a quick reminder, everyone, that we are at Monster Fuzz podcast on all our social media, and also do remember that these are pre-recorded, so we're not going live with these. So we're not even. It's live pre-roll, I believe, is the actual technical term. Eamon.
Live pre-roll. Okay.
Yeah. It's like when it's recorded live and not edited, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I get you.
Because we don't edit. All I do is you might notice that Eamon, there's a bit of peas with him, plosives. That's because he doesn't have a mic stand. He holds his mic like Tom Jones.
Not unusual to have fun with anyone.
So he's sitting at home swinging a mic around in his hand like Tom Jones.
Yeah,
so
I'm around the place I'm like cross between Tom Jones and Robert Plant, just the shirt open.
You need cooling.
Baby, I'm not fooling.
Yeah,
I'm gonna send you. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. I'm enjoying holding this mic.
And then you sounded like it faded off at the end there, like because you were moving the mic away. It's pretty funny.
Because I was swinging the mic around while I was singing. Totally.
So yeah, we're at Monster Fuzz Podcast, guys. Monster Fuzz Pod on Twitter. If you want to interact with us, please do hit us up and talk. We'll always be there. And actually, if you're hitting us up and talking, chances are we'll be in the middle of planning season 2 and maybe even finishing up season 1. I think that's kind of the plan, isn't it, Eamon? We're sort of releasing towards the end of this. Yeah.
Get a couple in a barrel. Yeah, and then just keep driving forwards.
Yeah. So always, if you're listening, guys, tag us on Insta stories and let us know, and we always appreciate that. Show our sexy artwork, and let us know that that you love us. Isn't that right? Please let us know.
I mean, if you want. It's fine to just enjoy the show. Just let us know you enjoy the show. Don't say you love us or anything. That's okay. That's okay.
Well, if you don't tell us you love us, we'll just assume you hate us. So
right. I'm feeling like there's deeper issues that we should maybe save for a private discussion.
I was just about to address that there. Yeah, that's a psychological issue, I think. So I've got some. First off, I suppose we'll do some lockdown talk. Has anything changed since the last episode, Eamon? I don't think much has it?
No, well, I mean, they just announced that we were locked down for a further 3 weeks, so that's we kind of knew it anyway, but that's, I guess, the big reveal, if you like.
Yes.
Aside from that, man, I started, so I was like yourself, running a lot, and I started to do. You've heard of burpees, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like you kind of you jump.
Squat,
push up and jump again.
Sorry, jump, push up, jump.
Yeah. The squat. There's jump squats as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is like jump, push up, and then jump again. And there's a challenge where it's 20 minutes.
Right.
So the first minute you do 1 burpee, the second minute you do 2 burpees, the third minute you do 3.
Okay.
So I thought I was Billy Big Balls out in the garden there, listening to Wu-Tang Clan, "Protect Your Neck, Son," and trying to do this challenge, and I got to the 10th minute, and I've never been as broke up in my life, and I just had to go, that's enough.
That sounds like fucking hell, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that's like 55 of them, just in increments. Didn't enjoy it. Hurt my stomach a lot. Felt bad, and then I drank a lot of gin that night.
So that's a good. You're actually, you know what? Now you're not supposed to be drinking during this COVIDs because it makes you more susceptible to catching it, apparently.
Yeah, well, joke's on you, Leo Varadkar, because I'm fucking susceptible to being sad if I don't drink during lockdown. So I'm going to drink, and we're just going to roll the dice on that one and hope for the best.
Do you need people to tell you they like you when you're in that type of stage?
No, I'm different. I want people to tell. I don't like that. If I love you, I'm like, ugh, get out of here. Okay, I want people to tell me that, oh, you piece of shit. I'm like a masochistic kind of a thing.
Maybe we can have like a Dr. Drew crossover episode where he comes on and helps us out.
I think we're definitely We're definitely going to need some psychological evaluation. The more we're talking to each other over Zoom, the more we're finding out how damaged one another are. So it's probably best to get some professional help.
Yeah, that's for sure. So the date today is the 1st of May. So yeah, so it's 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks of restrictions have been added, and then and just to say as well, we don't want to dwell on coronavirus. Everyone's going through it. It's a pain in the hole. We're all on the same page about that. But I kind of think that, like I was saying to Eamon before we started recording, like hopefully this is something that once it's behind us for good. And I think it's kind of cool that, when we're doing a podcast, and this is what sort of birthed the podcast, it's good to just document, I suppose, what's happening. That's more so why we're talking about it rather than any other sort of reason. But it's, yes, 2.5 weeks of like fairly stringent measures again still. And then I think another 3 weeks after that then, and things sort of ease up a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty shit, because I feel bad for people that are in sort of really sort of unusual situations, like there'd be a lot of people like say single parent families who split custody with children, things like that, like they won't be able to see each other, like, or navigate to each other's homes, things like that, if you get me. There'd be a lot of that type of thing happening. Older people are basically fully locked down. And that must be really hard for them as well mentally, I'd imagine, to not see anyone. I mean, it's isolating enough for older people before all of this. I mean, that's always been a fairly recurrent theme amongst elderly people, is that they feel very alone. But of course, it's definitely exacerbated now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I have my mother's aunt who's in her 80s. Is alone, and she, obviously, like, she'd talk to the family every now and then or whatever, but every day, like, I hear my mom on the phone too, or whether she's ringing or my mom's ringing her. But yeah, I'd imagine she's probably finding it a bit tough. I think she's kind of sneaking out to get a bit of a walk in, which, to be fair, I think if you're by yourself and you're over 70 or whatever, it's unfair, that cocoon thing, to just stay at home constantly.
It's a lot to ask.
You have to let people out. Yeah, exactly. And like, if you're able-bodied and you're able to walk, even just to get out, to move the body a bit, like, it's good for you. It pumps around the blood, gets everything flowing, you feel a bit better. I know certainly any times that if I'm in a funk or whatever, when I wake up, getting out and doing something for a bit always kind of just wakes up the body a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely does. I bought, much like yourself, I've been trying to keep fit, as we've been talking about. I bought one of these fitness tracker watches, Garmin something or other, and it's fairly shite, actually, to be honest with you. No, like, it doesn't have the features that I expected it to have, like, which is partially my own fault for not doing like due diligence and actually looking through everything and whatever. But I realized the run tracking is not very accurate or good at all.
Really? But so, like, is it meant to, like, when you start running, it's meant to start tracking that your heart rate is going up and your
or even if I put
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, or even if I put in like a workout myself manually, it's just weird. So usually, my 5K time is around 26 minutes at the minute. And I started using I used my Samsung tracker today as well, just because I was interested in seeing the difference. So I turned that on, and I turned on the Garmin. Or the Garmin automatically turned on. And the Garmin said I did 7 kilometers in 35 or something minutes, which, all right, okay, I'll take that. But my Samsung said that I did 5K in 33 minutes, which is not.
Is your Samsung like it's kind of like geolocated, so it's just tracking
GPS,
your phone.
GPS, yeah.
And does the watch do, like, because that's what I was always curious about. I know
it doesn't. It works off your GPS apparently, but it doesn't have its own. So I've done research now into other watches that have GPS, and that's kind of what I probably should have bought initially, rather than just one that's sort of semi-dependent on your phone.
Well, it's a weird one, I suppose. Yeah. So, like, I was using my Huawei today. It just has whatever Huawei Health or whatever it's called. But I did like a jog out to Ferrycarrig Castle and then hung out there. So I just ended one of the jogs. I think it was like just under 4K out there.
Yeah.
And then ran up to Boggins, which is like another 3.5, say. But it did, like, when I found that if if I just go onto Google Maps and like track the locations, it seems like I'm doing more kilometers. Whereas
Right.
if I just turn on the phone and run, it seems like I'm doing slightly less. But I think maybe Google Maps is rounding up kilometers there, whereas this is mapping it more efficiently. So it
Yeah.
seems like it's right, but I don't know.
I'd say your phone is right, and I'd say Google
Mm,
Maps is probably wrong because a lot of the time with Google Maps they're just using the strict roads as well. Like they're not, it's not
yeah,
accounting for
yeah.
you crossing the road. It's not accounting for all this type of stuff. So I would say, yeah, your phone is probably more accurate just tracking the run. So I'll probably get a Samsung smartwatch, I think, with GPS in it, and flog this one probably. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was, you know, they're one of those things that you kind of have to try before you buy, really, and sort of know what you want. And I thought that is not what I want anymore. Um, have you been playing any more video games or anything, or have you been busy with work?
Yeah, I was pretty busy with work this week, and I was after work. I wound up like I get dinner. I'm staying down with my parents now while this thing is going on, so I'll have like dinner with them, and then I don't know if I'm like catching age by osmosis, but I would like I've never have naps, but I'll have a nap after dinner and actually sleep for an hour or two,
Right.
which I've never done in my life before.
I've heard that's a mid-30s thing, to be quite honest with you.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, John was saying that to me. He was like, wait until the naps now. He's like, the naps will start coming in soon, kid. I was like, don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been in my mid-30s for like, I don't know.
I
Well,
stop with you. You're
about a
only
half a
fucking
year.
just in your mid-30s.
I'm not taking no naps. It was just because my dad gives me wine, and
Well,
that's
yeah,
why.
that's probably a lot to do with it. All right, I'd say, yeah. The
I
wine.
I usually don't drink. Yeah, don't drink wine by myself when I'm eating dinner up in Dublin.
No, no. Yeah, no, I'm near the end of Final Fantasy now, finally. After about, I think I'm at about 40 hours. I've taken my time, my sweet, sweet time. I think if you were to power through it,
Mm.
you could probably do it in like 30 hours or even less, maybe, if you were really hammering it, you know. Um,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of the time counted for me is a little bit of AFK while I'm like on my phone or whatever. Like it's not actual play time, if you get me. So
Gotcha. You just have it paused in the background or whatever.
it's so well done though, that game. It's really
Mm.
is like a love letter to fans of the series. Like it's just, I was at the Shinra Tower and it was very like it's just so well done, you know. You're just playing it and you're like, fuck, this is really
Yeah.
well good. Like this is really good, you know. But it's
I
fantastic.
found like when I first turned it on, there was times for the first couple hours, like, well, you know, you're getting used to the feel of the game, where I was actually smiling. Like I caught
Yeah,
myself, I was just smiling, going like, "Oh, this is cool!" Like just seeing enemies in, you know, the new kind of renders or whatever, or just even the way some of the dialogue works, the way some of the nods to different things. Like it was
yeah,
like actually the same thing when I played the Resident Evil 3, the in-game posters of like Mega Man and some of their other games like 1942 and stuff like that. I was just like totally delighted when I saw like Mega Man posters and stuff like that in Resident Evil 3, you know?
yeah.
Like little things like that. I was like, yeah. And I think the big thing for me as well is one of my favorite game series is the Yakuza game series,
Mm-hmm,
which is like a really weird Japanese mafia sort of RPG action game.
mm-hmm.
And I think Final Fantasy VII Remake plays quite similar to that, or as much like that as a Final Fantasy type game would or
Mm-hmm.
could. So for me, it's just I'm really enjoying the way the whole system works, you know, and the
Yeah,
UI and everything, and even the way the battles are so. You know, there's times when I could have a battle and I might die twice, and I'm like, Jesus, this is really hard. And then you have to go in and manage your materia, your inventory, and look at what way you're going to approach the fight. You know, it's not just a button masher. Like you have to kind of
mm-hmm.
consider what you're doing and learn from defeats. And yeah, I think it's brilliant. Like I really love the game.
Yeah, you can definitely button mash though. I haven't pressed the block button once. I was laughing about that last night. I was like, lol, block. But it's about, yeah, you still have to be very careful. You have to do a lot of dodging and stuff if you're not blocking, which is what I do.
Yeah,
I
and
kind
then
of
even
played this game.
totally, yeah. Sometimes the dodging as well is like, I mean, your timing has to be so on point with the dodging.
Mm-hmm.
When I was fighting Shiva, I
Mm-hmm.
was fighting her just as Cloud, so I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have Aerith with me for a little while, and I was getting her down the whole way, you know, to her health the whole way down. But then she started using her, like, you know, the last big thing they do before they like disappear
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And no matter how much health I had, no matter where I was, that would just obliterate me every time. And then I was like, all right, well, if I use barrier material when I get her to this amount of health, and I have Aerith now with me as well, and she's throwing fire at her from the back. And then it became a really easy battle, but you have to strategize a little bit. So yeah, I think it's great the way they've put it together.
Yeah, exactly. It's an action game that sort of makes you think a little bit, which is nice. Because as a huge fan of the original, I missed the turn-based aspect, but I appreciated the different ways that they made you think about it. But that's enough of us gushing about Final Fantasy VII. People who are listening and don't even like Final Fantasy are like, well, these do shut up about Final Fantasy fucking VII.
It's a fair point.
But it's fantastic. So if you want to check it out, give it a play. It's definitely worth it, especially if you've never played. Definitely give it a go. It is really good. So here we have now a new segment that's called Rob's Dinosaur Corner, and I didn't just make that up on the spot. But so Spinosaurus.
I do. Spinosaurus aegypticus.
Yeah, exactly. Spinosaurus aegypticus. So he's kind of a controversial dinosaur. When he first appeared, people were like, oh, he lived on land. Then, he was depicted in Jurassic Park as swimming around in the water. And people were like, no, he didn't do that. He was more on land. And, it sort of went back and forth. And I think they sort of settled on that he was more of a land-dwelling dinosaur. But a groundbreaking fossil suggests Spinosaurus is first known swimming dinosaur. So it's the first swimming dinosaur there is, yeah. Its paddle-like tail, unearthed in Morocco, suggests the Cretaceous carnivore ventured into the water to hunt. So, think of it like, apparently there's new artwork sort of updating the design of a Spinosaurus, and it looks more like a giant newt more than anything else.
Okay. Let me see.
I've got the article here, so let's see here now. I'll try and get this is basically a dinosaur trying to build a fishtail. Study author Nizar Ibrahim, a vertebrate paleontologist at University of Detroit Mercy, tells Michael Greshaw. The discovery books years of speculation that Spinosaurus simply dabbled in watery activities, wading into the shallows to hunt before quickly retreating back ashore. It also represents one of the most unusual traits ever attributed to a large predatory dinosaur. So if you're not familiar with a Spinosaurus, and I don't expect you to be, it's basically almost T-Rex sized, so a huge dinosaur with a huge sail the whole way down its back. Not to be confused with an iguanodon, which basically is like a sort of alligator-sized type of dinosaur. And he goes on to say the tail was just so awesomely weird-looking. I'd never seen anything like it. So yeah, it goes on to say if Spinosaurus truly was the sort of swimmer its tail suggests it was, paleontologists may need to rework their definitions of dinosaurs, a group whose members must lay their eggs on ground and have traditionally been thought of as terrestrial. But boundaries have been broken on the Tree of Life before, points out Thomas Holtz, a vertebrate paleontologist at the University of Maryland in College Park, who was not involved in the study, in an interview with Science News. We think of mammals as a terrestrial group, but we have whales and bats. So, yeah, I mean, it sort of points to Spinosaurus being quite maybe an outlier of a dinosaur.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I'm just looking at pictures here because obviously, like for anybody who doesn't know, Spinosaurus was introduced in Jurassic Park 3 as like the new T-Rex, if you like. People were getting fed up with the T-Rex being the sort of boss of Jurassic Park. So Spinosaurus came in. And I guess like many of the dinosaurs that are featured in Jurassic Park, if you look at these pictures, it depicts Spinosaurus much differently and more stylized, say, than the pictures here. But I get what you're saying about the newt-like look of it, certainly with the tail, which I thought its tail was more like an alligator's tail or a T-Rex's kind of tail, based on like what I'd seen before. But yeah, no, this definitely, I get what you're saying about the newt look.
Yeah, there's a picture. If you search like groundbreaking Spinosaurus discovery, folks, there's a picture of the actual tail bones, like an artist's rendition, and it shows sort of what the Spinosaurus would have looked like, and its head and neck regions are much more filled out and sort of bulbous, if you know what I mean. So it looks more like a giant tadpole, basically.
Yeah, pretty
So
much. Like, it's funny. I've gone from looking at that kind of, like you said, the newt like tadpole like dinosaur, to looking at, the way it looks in Jurassic Park, and it totally looks, completely different. So yeah, that's a nice piece of trivia, nice piece of dino trivia,
and
Jurassic trivia.
and interestingly enough, that means Jurassic Park 3 actually conveyed the dinosaur properly with just a bad
Yeah,
look.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
yeah, because at the time I think people were saying, "Oh no, Spinosaurus wouldn't have swam in water like that. That's totally unrealistic. It wouldn't have hunted in the water or anything like that." But yeah, no, looks like it did. So looks like Jurassic Park was actually right about one thing, you know.
There's a win for Jurassic Park 3. Lord knows it could use them.
Could
No,
do.
to be fair, I look, even though you might say Jurassic Park 3 is one of the worst Jurassic Park movies, it's still a Jurassic Park movie and worth watching for sure. In fact, did you watch Jurassic World? Jurassic World, what was Jurassic World 2 called?
Jurassic
Jurassic Planet or
Worlder.
something? Jurassic, this time it's even more world. But that was, I didn't much care for that
I
movie.
hated
Maybe I
that
have to go
fucking
back and
film.
rewatch it.
No, I hated
Yeah, I
that
didn't
film,
like
man.
it.
I didn't like the direction they took with it. Like they tried to turn it into like a horror film, which I get. Like it was trying to, but it was just no, it wasn't. People want to see dinosaurs in their sort of own environment or on a rampage through a city. We don't want to see it going around a
Hmm.
fucking house like it's Frankenstein or something. We're not interested in that shit.
Well, that's it. It's like a T-Rex Raptor hybrid that's
Mhm.
stealthily walking on a roof to try and
Yeah,
get a
it's
child. I was
just
like, the fuck am I watching it? I thought like Chris Hansen was gonna pop out and be like, you know
dude.
that girl was 13 when you were texting her.
So
It's
have
like,
a seat over here. What have you got in the bag?
yeah.
Just some.
Can I just leave?
I've just got some Mike's Hard Lemonade, some condoms. They always have Mike's Hard Lemonade and condoms in their bag.
Mike's Hard Lemonade and
It's like as soon as
condoms.
you drink Mike's Hard Lemonade, you just get like pulled towards Chris Hansen. Uh,
I actually watched, I went down the rabbit hole. One of those came up on YouTube and I
they're
clicked into
fantastic.
it. And oh man, like, it was just, there was this one guy, and the chap, like, he's not right.
No.
Obviously, for what he's doing would indicate that anyway, but you can tell to look at him, like, this chap's missing a few sandwiches short of a picnic.
Mm.
And he goes into him, so they have the first like setup house or whatever, and he goes in, and the guy's just like, he was like, did you send this girl pictures of your genitalia or whatever? And he just goes, oops.
Oh,
Just like,
wow.
oops. And then 8 months later, apparently the guy goes to court or whatever, and they have to like go back to court in a few months after that. And the next day he winds up texting another young
For
girl,
fuck's
and it's
sake.
another decoy from the next season of To Catch a Predator or whatever. He goes in, and he comes in the house, and he sees your man Chris Hansen. He's just, before anyone says anything again, he just goes, oops.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's,
Jesus Christ.
ah, man, it's ridiculous. It's kind of, like, obviously what they're doing is awful, but this dude, just, he's not right. Something's up with
It's,
this guy. Like,
yeah, it's predator. It's what's the right word for like the active word for being a predator? It's like they are actively searching for those type of people. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what they're
yeah,
after.
yeah.
Like that's who they. It's like it's just trying to get those guys because they're so fucking stupid. Like, and they're like coming on, and it's like it's just because there's a bit of entertainment to it as well. Like, so that's part of it too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like they're trying to make entertainment. Did you ever see the beach special? I just think they're so funny that there's a beach special of To Catch a Predator.
What's the beach special?
Well, like they're just on the beach, like and Chris Hansen, like they're on like deck chairs on the beach, and then Chris Hansen comes along and sits down beside him on the sand, and he's like, "Well, what are you doing here?" And yeah, it's just really fucking, to be honest with you. It's
What?
yeah, it's so bizarre. He actually did. I think
So,
he did.
like,
What?
I was just sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around the beach special. So basically, he's the guy who says he'll meet the girl at the beach or whatever,
Mhm.
and then he's talking to her, and then Chris Hansen's like, "So, looks like you're enjoying your
Yeah, Chris
hard
Hansen.
lemonade, Mike's hard lemonade."
Chris Hansen does like Baywatch up the beach basically. After your man sits down, he'll like he's hiding behind a sand dune or whatever, and he fucking runs down the beach while they're not. The other thing about it is as well, like, is I'm like, like I've done a bit of work on television shows in the past, and like just as like a runner and stuff, and you know it's a big production, like, and there's loads of cameras and stuff, and sometimes I wonder, like with the house stuff, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. They can, they could set up hidden cameras, but like on the beach, I'm
Yeah.
like, camera crew, really? Like, are you want to hide a camera crew on the beach? But I don't know, maybe so.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
it's an interesting thing, but very funny and entertaining. If people haven't watched To Catch a Predator, definitely check it out. You'll end up binging it because it's
Yeah, you can't help it. Like you're just stuck.
yeah.
It's like Love Island or something like that. Like you just, even though you know everything that's gonna happen, if you turn it on, you're like, I can't get up now. I just have to watch
like
this.
Yeah, it's like the anti Love Island. I think would be probably the best way to describe it. Really.
Yeah, like
yeah,
you shouldn't love Island.
Okay, so that doesn't segue nicely into our cryptid. So we are it's time to talk about our cryptid. This one is called Dobhar Chu, and I would like to give a shout out to my girlfriend who's fluent in Irish, because otherwise we would have butchered this name probably 1,000 times. So it's Dobharchu. Dobhar Chu is how you pronounce it in Irish, I believe. Eamon.
I'll go with it.
So yeah, so the Dobhar Chu is an Irish cryptid. So this is the first Irish cryptid that we have covered. It's said to be an amalgamation of a dog, otter, fish. The Dobhar Chu is a mainly aquatic animal that can be usually found in lakes or rivers, particularly in Leitrim and Mayo, which is probably the only good thing in Leitrim and Mayo.
Just one more reason to stay out of those kips.
I've never been to either, although after this episode I will go, and you will come as well. We're definitely going to do that,
yeah. there's no choice, and you will come as well.
And we will have a good time.
I promise.
So do you want to tell them about the size of this thing?
Yeah, so the Dobhar Chu is thought to be a large creature, somewhere around crocodile size. And obviously, as we all know, crocodiles can grow to, almost 30 feet, I think. Like the big ones, right? Or am I doting?
Yeah. You might be doting, but
yeah, well, big anyway.
I think 16
doting,
feet would be more right.
Maybe not 16 kilometers.
No, definitely not 16 kilometers.
Not 16 kilometers like the Kraken.
No.
So the Dobhar Chu is said to be able to keep up with a galloping horse. They usually travel in pairs and are man-eaters. When one is killed, the other will appear to avenge its fallen comrade. It's like a boss on like Dark Souls or something. So this happens as a result of the injured Dobhar Chu letting out a shrill whistle to let his partner know that he's dying.
Oh, I actually have an MP3 of the sounds that he lets out if you want me to play it for you.
Do you? Yeah. I'd love to hear it. Wow. Captured very well. Good sound quality on that.
That's the whistle that he actually lets out. That was played to me by a monk who lives in Leitrim.
Yeah, I know that monk you're friends with in Leitrim. Yeah, no, that's good. How's he keeping? I suppose isolation's nothing too strange for him.
He's grand. Yeah, he's getting used to using MP3s and all that. It's all new technology to him. But he said when he heard about the podcast, he was like, "Let me send you down a sample of the Dobhar Chu," which is an exclusive. Actually, that's the first time it's ever been played. Believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I'd say the listeners are really excited now that they've heard that. I'd say that's great.
So why
don't you tell us what the Dobhar Chu is some of the stuff he does so that we quickly run away from what you're peddling there?
The Dobhar Chu is responsible for the deaths of at least 2 people, and there are 2 gravestones here to bolster that claim. So that's the really interesting thing about the Dobhar Chu is there's actually 2 physical graves up in those counties to represent like whatever happened. I suppose I don't exactly know why they're there or whatever. There's pictures of those, so if you guys want to look up Dobhar Chu gravestones, and again that's Dobharchu, because it is a strange spelling, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was like it is Dobhar Chu for sure, but I was saying Dobhar Chu or Dover.
Yeah.
Dobhar or something like that, you know.
Yeah,
But
it was
yeah,
like
I'm wrong.
Dove, almost like a V sound I was kind of making maybe, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so. The first sightings of this, which was around the 16th or 17th century, which is really interesting because a lot of our cryptids actually started to be seen around the 16th or 17th century. Why do you think that is?
I'd say lads just had a lot of time on their hands to sort of
But
stare into the distance,
what
you know,
about the
just see if
15th
anything was
century?
moving around. No, there would have been. There's a lot going on the 15th now. I think they had just made that thing where they put the ball against the paddle and you're able to hit the ball. So I'd say lads were busy there just playing paddle ball. Then 16th century was a slow year in terms of entertainment inventions. So that's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's probably it. I think also a lot of the reason why things got started to get seen around that time was because people just started keeping records around that time, right?
That would make a lot more sense than the paddle ball thing that I was saying. Yeah. No, I
Or
think, yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's probably more and more people are even like just writing and being able to write and all that sort of stuff. And I know like monasteries in the 16th and 17th century, sure, the boys had nothing to do but write, really, did they?
yeah, my mate told me that. Yeah, they used to just write back then. Really, that was all they used to do,
Mm,
and drink mead.
that sounds like a good life.
Well, yeah, I think you would enjoy that probably, would you?
Yeah, I'd probably be into that, just write and drink.
With your wooden mobile phone that you use.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm recording my Gregorian chant album now, during isolation, which isn't actually a joke. I
No, it
have
isn't a
two
joke.
tracks down. It's not a joke. My mom came in and she's like, "Jesus, that's lovely music. Who made that?" And I was like, "I did." And I think she was proud of me. So now I think of that.
Yeah, Eamon actually does. Like, Eamon texted me and was like, "I'm making a Gregorian chant album." I was like, "Lol, yeah, funny." Well, but he is actually, in fact, making a Gregorian chant album. So, if you want to hear that,
Yeah, I'd say by
message
the
us.
time we put this out, yeah, I might be able to maybe put like again the time that we put the final production on this. Maybe at the end of it, we will put in some Gregorian chant songs, some tunes, man. CHOONS
Yeah, yeah,
tunes.
maybe for like one episode, maybe. Yeah. um, yeah, well, we can do that if I can whistle and fart over it. How's about
Well, you've already whistled, so
that?
oh, sorry, the door chew. Sorry, the door
Yeah,
chew. Sorry,
yeah,
that was the door
the
chew.
MP3
Yeah.
from the monastery. So that was fun.
What's your monk friend's name again?
Aloysius.
Aloysius Faheen Fitzgerald, yeah.
Aloysius the third. So the name Doriku translates to water dog hound. Doriku is also known as King Otter. So if you want to break
Mm.
down the word for us there a little bit, Eamon.
Yeah, so Dorchu is an obsolete Irish word for otter. The modern Irish word for water is ishka, although dor is also rarely used. Dor is a much older form, and cognates are found in other Celtic languages like Welsh. So dur for water. Cu is hound in Irish. So, for example, Hugh Cullen is one of our folklore heroes, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like the Hound of Cullen, Hugh Cullen.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dorchu is also known as the Dobhar Chu, and anglicised as Diarchu or Duragu. So now sounds like some Game of Thrones. Duragu, Fustura. It's yeah, it's pretty cool. Like actually to break down the etymology of it and see, you know, how it's come together is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's all that type of stuff is definitely very interesting. And we should also point out that like neither of us had ever heard of Dorku before we researched some different cryptids from Ireland. So yeah, this was the first
Yeah.
time we'd heard of them, right?
Yeah, I'd never ever heard of him before, which is like usually I'd be surprised if there's a cryptid that I haven't at least in passing come across.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like this one, like I kind of wonder even if it's a giant sea otter. I wonder if it's similar. Have you ever heard the sightings of like dog men and stuff like that? They're
Yeah,
like
selkies
werewolves,
and
but
all
not
that.
quite.
Yeah, yeah. There's a
Yeah,
few
yeah,
different
yeah.
ones. Yeah.
So this is an interesting kind of aquatic hound fish thing. Like
Uh,
I've never heard of anything even like that before, you know?
No, well, we'll definitely visit those type of characters as well, like selkies, and there's a few other types as well, like mermaids and all that. Because I think that's an
Mm,
interesting topic to cover. Because it's like where did it come from? You know, it's obviously very prevalent in different stories, and we covered Sebastian in the last episode. I read McGlat, and and like he knew one of those as well himself, personally. So we could definitely find out what mermaids are about, and mermen and selkies and things like that. Selkies are seal people, and it's an Irish like seafaring sort of story, I suppose.
There's a movie I think with Colin Farrell called I want to say it's called Ondine, I think,
right?
But it's about he finds this lady in the water and the kid thinks she's a selkie or whatever.
Oh, really?
But she's not. I think she's just a trafficked European. But you kept guessing. You're kept guessing. You know, check it out.
Okay, cool. I didn't actually know that was a thing, so that's cool. So yeah, definitely give that a shout.
Yeah.
So before we get into the history of Dobhar Chu, I'd like to give a shout out to I think it's Rachel Rafferty, who wrote a great article about Dobhar Chu, and we will be pulling a lot of stuff from her article, and by a lot I mean most of it, because she did a very comprehensive sort of, I suppose, like she just put it all together really well, and just pulled all the information from everywhere. I tried to look for like different little tidbits, and I couldn't really find much that she hadn't mentioned, really. And I think she scraped the barrel completely.
Yeah. Same as I actually put in a couple of paragraphs about the island itself here, and it was only when I was and I only put it in to kind of try and put a bit more information into it. But as I was typing it in, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is boring for me to write, so it's going to be so boring to listen to.
Yeah.
So I just took it out of there,
Yeah. So she.
But that was the only other thing I could find that that she hadn't covered in this bit here.
Yeah, so shouts out to her. And the site is irishcentral.com/Hands of the Deep Dobhar Chu. So do you want to talk about the first sightings of Dobhar Chu?
Yeah. So the reported sightings of the Dobhar Chu date back as far as 1684. One was recorded by Miss Walkington in 1896 edition of the Journal of Royal Society of Antiquaries Antiquaries of Ireland. Oh. Miss Walkington described it as being half wolf dog and half fish. A few months later, Mr. Chichester. Oh, that's your English blood. You're able to say this stuff.
Your Irish tongue can't say that, yeah.
No, my dumb Irish tongue, big bacon and cabbage head in me, and the big red mane of hair. What are you doing here, Robert? A few months later, Mr. H. Chichester Hart responded to Miss Jesus, these people's fucking names. Miss Walkington's letter. He said that he heard rumors about a gruesome creature called Dobhar Chu, which is said to be the king of all lakes and the father of all otters. I like that.
Isn't there like in South Park, there's an otter king, and he's like, so he says something about his tummy all the time. He like lies on his back. It's real funny. There's an episode, is it the otters are fighting some other army, and they're like a futuristic otter faction. But it's a really funny episode. I can't remember which one it is, but definitely check that out. And those who know what I'm talking about, yeah, you get a laugh out of the Otter King. So all the sightings of Dobhar Chu, it is the account of Glenade, County Leitrim, or Glenade, of 1722 of bestial murder of Grace McLaughlin. That is most famous.
See, this is the Irish McLaughlin. Yeah, I think this is he's Irish. I think it's McLaughlin.
No, yeah, well, McLaughlin has a U. This has an I.
I wonder if it's the spelling of the 18th century, maybe. Who knows?
Well, I would say McLaughlin. That was when I first was putting this together, I was like, yeah, it's McLaughlin. But then I was like, McLaughlin is probably a name as well. So let's say McLaughlin because it's easier. Oral tradition in this part of Ireland still holds that story of the Dobhar Chu of Glenade is true. This is story as related by local storyteller Owen McGowan of Townland of Ahanlish, Kinloch, County Leitrim. So I'll read the first part here, Eamon, and then you can pick up. Grace McLaughlin,
go for it.
Known as Grace or Grania Connolly. Custom at the time was that a woman retains her maiden name after marriage, which is unusual for that time. Lived in Townland of Creevilly, which is close to the border of Leitrim and Sligo, and on the northwestern part of Glenade Lake. On September 22nd, 1722, Grace came down to Lake and to band, perhaps wash some clothes. There's a typo there. So she went down to the lake to wash clothes. While she was doing this, a huge monster emerged from water and savagely attacked, then killed Grace. She was later found by her husband, Terence. Terence saw her bloodied body on the side of the lake, and to his horror, saw a huge beast. Who the fuck was writing this? Is this because it's an old article that it's written kind of weird?
Not sure.
Yeah, it's written really strange. So a huge beast which had killed his wife lying asleep across her dead body. Heartbroken with grief and furious, Terence knew at once that it was the Dobhar Chu. Okay, so Terence basically found his missus dushed at the lakeside, right?
Pretty much, yeah. And as we all know, the combination of grief and fury is always a dangerous combination.
Powerful.
Yeah. Terence immediately found his dagger and killed the monster. However, as is usual with this kind of creature, during its death throes, it let out a high-pitched whistle.
Oh.
Do you have that MP3 again, actually, Rob?
Yeah.
Just so we can... Right, so that was the whistle, which alerted its mate to what was happening. A second Dobhar Chu emerged at once from the depths of the lake. Terrified, Terence took to his heels and jumped on a horse. He began to ride for his wife as the second Dobhar Chu pursued him. Oh, his wife, yeah, sorry, his life as the second Dobhar Chu pursued him. Terence rode for many miles with the Dobhar Chu close behind him. A local man, Patrick Doherty, who is now deceased, 1722, yeah, you'd imagine so. He told the historian and folklorist Joe McGowan the story of the chase. It started at Frank McSherry's of Glenade, faltered and ended close by Cashel Stone Fort in County Sligo, a Black's Ford.
You're getting all Celtic there when you're reading that, aren't you?
It's mad crack, isn't it? I
love
it. I love me county. I love the world. I love Ireland.
Right, so so this is a realistic sort of. This when you pair in the fact that there was a headstone and all that, like this apparently there was some type of fucking shenanigans that was going on at the time. So let's go on to the next part. So after being chased for miles, Terence was obliged to stop to have his horse's foot reshod. The blacksmith at Cashel, a wise man, knew ways of this creature. He gave Terence a sword and told him, when creature charges, he'll put his head right through horse. As soon as he does this, you'll be quick and cut his head off. So Terence, still on his horse, stood his ground near Forge. The huge beast came at full charge, then it put its head right through horse, as predicted by Blacksmith. This time, however, Terence was ready. Determined to avenge his wife's murder, Terence put his sword through Dobhar Chu's head, killing it instantly, and I believe, did a at the end of it when it died.
Oh, did the old whistle.
Yeah, they do. So if you want to go into the ghoulish details of the story.
There's a further ghoulish detail to back this story up.
Oh.
The grave of Grace Connolly actually exists, and what's more, carved on her tombstone is a detailed depiction of her killer, the Dobhar Chu. It is located in Conwall Cemetery in the townland of Drummans. Drummans, near the village of Kinloch, is part of the approach to Valley of Glenade. The tomb itself is so old that most of the written details are illegible. However, Grace's name and that of her husband can be made out. The carved image of the Dobhar Chu is much clearer. The creature is depicted lying down with its head and neck flung backwards so that it lies flat along its back in its death throes. Kind of sounds like me and a different kind of throws. A spear-like weapon is shown piercing the base of the creature's neck, re-emerging below its body, and gripped by a human fist at its upper end. Also, and less well known, both the Dobhar Chu and the McLaughlin's horse are buried in County Sligo, not far from Cashel Stone Fort, where they were both killed.
So, so these headstones do exist, folks. So if you are in Ireland, or maybe even you're visiting Ireland, our lovely country, definitely don't visit at the minute. But in the future, there is 2 gravestones that they do exist, and they do depict what they say depict. Can we talk a bit about the images on these, Eamon, a little bit? Because when I was pulling the images, I was kind of like, does it depict what they're saying it depicts, or no?
I think look, in terms of like 18th century like masonry art, it looks kind of no perspective. They're like all art back then, right? I know not all art. Sure, the Renaissance was in the 1600s, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah,
lads were
well,
painting
anyway,
mad shit.
doing doing perspective in stone is probably difficult.
Yeah.
But it does look very that kind of, I suppose, it almost seems similar to the kind of images you would have had in the old pounds, the punts.
Yeah.
Like
Or currency.
that's what it kind of reminds me of. Yeah. So like the first one, just has the hand and the knife. I can see it stabbing into the Dorku's neck. Kind of looks like a hound, I suppose. And then the second grave, I suppose it's more of a long shot where you actually see the guy. It almost looks like he's riding on the back of the Dorku there.
Or a horse. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So, but the horse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Limbs, or
no,
one of the limbs his. Or two of the limbs his and two of the limbs the Dorku's. So if you're looking, guys, there's an image with the Dorku and it's got the text underneath it. That's the one we're actually looking at right now. And it kind of has, written text which we can't really make out. And then it has the image on top of it. So it kind of is up to interpretation. I thought it was a dude riding a horse first, to be honest.
I think the guy is stabbing the Dorku in the neck, I think, because if you look at the tail looks like kind of the way an otter's tail would be.
True.
Again, it could just be very shoddy workmanship on the artist's part.
Yeah.
But then you're right, the first foot does look a lot like a hoof, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's
using.
We'll have to investigate these with our own eyes, I believe.
Go up.
Yeah, but it is really interesting that there is tangible evidence of a cryptid right in front of us, a more unusual one. In the last episode, we talked about the Kraken, and we sort of got to the bottom of that and what it is, but this is quite an unusual creature, and it appears to have tangible proof that it exists, right?
Well, tell us about because I was really interested about the last sighting, which isn't too long ago at all.
Yeah. So there's been more. This is just, I suppose, the most famous. As recently as 2000, Irish artist Sean Corcoran and his wife claimed to have witnessed the sighting of the Dorku in a lake on Omey Island in Connemara, County Galway. Corcoran describes it as large, dark with orange flippers. The creature, reports Corcoran, swam width of the lake from west to east in what seemed like a matter of a few seconds. Corcoran concludes that it finally leapt onto a huge boulder and before disappearing gave the most haunting screech again, which you guys already know that one. But is Sean Corcoran, is he maybe a bit like Alex Gray, the artist, where he takes a lot of acid and everything? Or is this dude
I was literally about to ask you the same question.
or is Sean Corcoran a normal person?
Well, he's got a strong Irish name, which
so that means
he's a normal Irish fella.
Okay.
But at the same time, he's an artist from Galway, which might kind of allude to the fact that he could be on mushrooms. And Birkenstock shoes, yeah.
And a wooden phone like yourself.
The wooden phones are deadly. Like, if you thought you couldn't break a 3310, try breaking a wooden phone. Good luck. Mahogany phones, they're in.
Matthew, mahogany phones.
They're good. The other thing as well is, like, you never have to accept cookies when you have a mahogany phone. Just go onto all the websites, like any accept cookies or any of that stuff. Like, no GDPR, yeah. Well, it's effectively just a block of wood, so you can't do much with it at all, to be fair. But if a Dorku came at me and I had my mahogany phone, I'd take my chances fighting the Dorku with that phone. But sure, if you had your old skimpy breathe on it too hard and it breaks Apple iPhone, do you know what I mean? Like,
if I had my
Dorku's,
Garmin,
he's taking that phone.
If I had my Garmin, I would have thought that I'd ran away at 7k, but I'd actually only ran 5k, and the Dorku would have caught me and ate me. So
because you're thinking you're doing great fitness routines, but the thing was lying to you all along, and it's not preparing you for real life situations like a Dorku coming after you.
Exactly, and so I'm not going to discredit Sean Corcoran. I don't know the guy, and I don't know anything about him or his wife. So the two of them said they've seen a sighting, so that's great, fantastic. And there is a lot of people that report more sightings, and also, like, it's not just Irish, the Dorku. It has been spotted in Wales, England, and there's also ties with the Loch Ness Monster, and also ties with Bessie, the American Loch Ness Monster, who we will, I was going to put them in this episode, but I figure, we'll be covering all those eventually anyway, so it will be cool to tie them in after the fact, if you get me. But
yeah, absolutely.
There is. So, I went to do a bit of research about like possible explanations and to go back into sort of like dinosaur themes here. Do you want to talk a little bit about
yeah, just before we go into that, I was just going to say I actually just did a Google search for some of Sean Corcoran's art, and I would now just like to say that while I would take his word, and I would take the word of any man and not doubt it, his artwork does look like the artwork of a person that takes certain substances that are either picked in race courses or cash has to exchange hands for.
See them there. I just looked them up.
Shadows of Night. Yeah. You kind of get what I'm saying?
I do, yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff, but
you're going to get us in trouble.
Cool stuff, but
this is two lawsuits that I have now for different episodes with you.
Well, sure, look, I'm just speaking my mind. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm not saying he did do it. I'm saying the art looks like it's the art of someone who does be taking a lot of drugs, but I don't know. I can't say it for sure. Say it for sure.
No, you're dead right. Upon a first glance, I agree with you. Now, to be honest with you, he also does sand art, which is quite nice.
Yeah, his sand art is pretty cool, actually.
Shouts out to Sean.
Allegedly, he takes drugs in the middle of the night, though. Anyway, so we'll possible explanations about the Dorku. I mean, yeah, like I suppose outside of wolves, which haven't been in Ireland for a long time, and are only, I think they're getting reintroduced in Wicklow soon, aren't they?
Well, no, recently. that was just like that was just like whoever suggested that. I think it was on the Green Party, and they were just like, here, cop on to yourself. Like, you can't have fucking wolves. Like, Ireland is about 2 foot long. You can't have wolves marauding around the country. Like,
because the whole idea was because the deer, they were trying to just sort of cull the deer population. But surely it makes more sense just go up with some rifles, cull the deers, get the venison, and maybe give it to people who can't afford
neuter the deers
or something.
Yeah, neuter the deers. That's another thing. Yeah.
But anyway, sure. Look, but yeah. As you're saying, that the best explanation, certainly in keeping with our kind of cryptidy, prehistoric, old-timey animals, the Siamagale melilultra.
I would say it's Siamagale or Siamagale because it's. I think it was found in Asia, so Siam.
So yes. I see. So Siamagale melilultra is an extinct species of giant otter from the late Miocene. In Yunnan province, China. It is ranking amongst the largest fossil otters. Siamagale represents a feeding ecomorphology with no living analog. Its giant size and high mandibular mandibles, I'm assuming that's jaws, mandibular strength confer shell-crushing capability matched only by other extinct molluscivores, such as the marine bear Calponimus.
He sounds interesting, doesn't he? That's another, like...
Calponimus sounds cool,
yeah. Marine bear, yeah. Like, there's so many cool animals from back then. So, again, another cryptid with a possible prehistoric explanation. Do you know what? I think that a giant otter would probably be more likely to survive ice ages than Mokele Membe. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. So I'm basing that on absolutely nothing. But yeah, I agree. I think that's a good way to go.
Well, I mean, I suppose like they're kind of they're mammals. They probably have the same sort of requirements then as they would now. So
yeah.
These were badasses actually. They reckon that these guys were like hunting different shit. They were like active hunters. So they would have been like like basically like this guy is described as. So there, because in Ireland, like Ireland is quite it's not very diverse for animals at all. Like, we have no real predators. Like, there's no we could go camping in the woods and there's no worries of any type of animals. Like probably the most deadly mammal in Ireland is like a badger, right?
Yeah, you're probably right. A badger or a stoat might break your ankle.
Or like
they bite. Isn't it like the guys who go fishing? They'd put a little ring of twigs around their leg, so if it came out and bit them, they'd hear the crack and
All
they'd think
right.
they'd broken the leg and they'd get off then. So
Okay.
there's
No.
mandibular strength as well. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have like big predators. Like we don't have wildcats. We don't have
No.
bears. We don't have wolves. I think a lot of people think of
Mm.
Ireland as this wild place with all these animals, but it's actually very tame. I think probably because it was a small island, it was easier for hunter gatherers to hunt animals that were dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we used to have there were old Irish bears and
Yeah.
stuff like that here. This going back, Arctic bears like millennia.
The
Um,
biggest
but
deer is from Ireland, isn't it?
yeah, I think so as well. But I remember when I was living in Canada years ago, I got
Mm-hmm.
talking to someone one day there, and she was like, "Oh, so what's it like over there?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah." And she was telling me about where she was from, and it was like a snowy. Yeah, obviously everywhere is snowy in Canada at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a real like in the winter the town would be iced over
Yeah.
completely. And she said when she'd be walking home, you actually had to be careful because you might find like a grizzly or a black bear or something on your way
Yeah.
home.
Fuck all that.
In Whistler, when we were there, they had bear-proof bins. So basically, they had these bins that the bears couldn't get into because otherwise they'd come up and just try to, eat the food or whatever the people were throwing away. And when we were working in a golf course down there, landscaping, we actually had to stop work once or twice because there was a black bear that came through, and the guy's like, he's more afraid of you than you are of him, and I was like, I don't know about that. I'm pretty nervous.
Yeah, I think in
So
those
yeah.
places, like life is just so different because it's those are actual real threats, and the weather is a threat as well. It's like you get too drunk, you fall in the snow, you're gonna have a bad time.
That's game, set, and match, yeah.
So it's different. That's why us Irish are like silly gooses because we have nothing to really worry about. So we can just go around being fucking idiots most of the time. And we get away with it because we don't have any real true problems to worry about. We've got pretty mild weather, we've got no predators. We have this dude chasing after us, but other than that, we're pretty good. But this
yeah,
the Sayama Gale Melultra, he was about 6.25 feet in length, and he weighed about 40 kg, at least 40 kg. And the remains were found in China, so he was he was about the size of a Dobhar Chu, right?
Yeah. It sounds like the same animal, really.
Yeah.
From the. I know again, I don't know about the crying out as it does its death throes, and its buddy second boss comes in to try and fight you after that. But certainly visually, you'd imagine it's very similar.
Yeah. So yeah, we have some poems about the Dobhar Chu, do we, Eamon?
We do. There's when I was doing a little bit of research, there was a book on unknown animals, or basically a cryptozoology book, but like without pictures of aliens and zombies and stuff. It seemed like more of a legitimate book. But there's two poems which I thought we should include, since we did Tennyson's poem about the Kraken last time. That the idea now is to try and find a poem about every cryptid we do.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
that's good. That's the new thing. So the master otter also appears in the poem "The Old House" within a 1950s anthology just called "Further Poems" by the Leitrim poetess Catherine A. Fox. And the lines that are relevant to the Dobhar Chu read: "The story told of the Dobhar Chu that out from Glenade Lake had come one morning years ago a woman's life to take."
So that she was obviously up all night writing that one, anyway.
Yeah, no, I'd say that took her a while now. She's like, what rhymes with lake? Lake.
That's what an extensive.
No, that doesn't work. No, she was there. I mean, the 1950s, they were really on point with their poetry back then.
Well, they should have been. I think they were better at poetry back then, to be honest with you. And then this.
Well, now there's well, I guess nowadays, like the poems, there's no rhyme, there's no meter, there's no. It's just free verse and write whatever you want, which is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on poetry. I'm just not smart enough to write it. So that's where that darkness is coming from, and I'd like to apologize.
Have you ever tried to write poems?
I wrote. Well, when I was doing because I did like a master's in creative writing or whatever, like a dope. I was like, this will get me a job. But I was always more into like yourself, writing stories and stuff like that. But no, I did. I wrote a couple of poems. There's one poem that I submitted it, and it was about Jack Nicholson appearing in a dream
Right.
and saying that it was a strange one, saying that the truth we write like bouncing checks or like that.
Sounds like
And
something that Sean Corcoran, the artist, would do, to be honest with you.
yeah, pretty much the all or nothing days. And the teacher was like, "This is fantastic, but no one will ever publish it." And I was like, "Cool story, bro. See you later."
Much like this podcast,
Um,
except we can publish it ourselves. So
well, that's it. Yeah,
we're the
we're
masters of our own destiny.
lucky/unlucky. Do you want to try and read this part, the second poem,
Yeah,
which I don't think was written by the same lady?
I'll read up the second poem.
Got it.
She having gone to bathe, it seems within its waters clear, and not returning when she might her husband fraught with fear. Hastening to where he her might find when all, to his surprise, what the fuck is that? Her mangled form still
Here, I'm gonna come
warm.
in like your I'm gonna come in like the rapper guy to do the last line.
Her mangled form still bleeding warm lay stretched before his eyes. On her bosom snow white once, but now besmeared with gore. The Dobhar Chu reposing was his surfeiting been o'er. Her blood and entrails all around tinged with a reddish hue. Oh God, he cried, 'tis hard to bear, but what am I to do? Says Reggie Red Pubes.
Reggie Red.
I just added that little part at the end there.
No.
That's Reggie Red Pubes wasn't around. Yeah, that was fucking nonsense as well.
Yeah, they weren't really. I'd say it was just slow couple of years for poetry.
Yeah, like back then, that would have been like, going to the cinema to see Star Wars. Like someone gives you that on a piece of paper, and you're like, "Whoa!" Upon her bosom, Snow White once, but now be smeared with gore. Yeah, deadly.
No way.
Yeah,
because like in the 1950s in America, the whole beatnik generation were kicking off, right? So you had like Jack Kerouac, William Burroughs, and all that shit. Like,
I don't think this was from the 50s by reading this one. This sounds like you're talking.
Maybe it's an anthology that came out in the 50s.
Yeah, this one is
from way older.
Yeah, the language in that is definitely like old English, I would say. The
fucking Twilight Zone came out in the 50s, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like this appears to be quite a lot older, but yeah. So the Dobhar Chu, we're definitely going to hunt the Dobhar Chu. That is going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to drive and try and find this motherfucker. But he has been sighted in quite a few places. And is it possible? Let's not say Dobhar Chu. Let's say, is it possible a giant otter is alive today, Eamon?
I want to say yes.
Oh, controversial.
No. Yeah, I'm going to say that there's a giant otter swimming along the west coast of Ireland, and you better watch your candy ass if you go near him, because he will fuck your shit up.
Sounds like it. He sounds like an aggressive lizardy otter, so you don't want to come across a lizard otter. I'm going to weigh in and say it sounds like there's something. We just have to find out what. I don't think the thing is, I'm really drawing blanks about what that could be, because there is literally no other option in Ireland,
Yeah.
Unless there's like, unless this lake that they're in is like, maybe there's like big pike in there or something. But they don't get up on rocks.
No, they're not known to. Yeah, it's a strange one. Like, it could be like, look, we were talking about giant squid the other day, and how 55 feet was the one that was largest, the record of the largest giant squid. So potentially, is there just a really big family of otters? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you would think.
I don't know.
You would think they would be less elusive if they were. So like, that's the kind of the clincher.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you'd surely find them somewhere somehow, but it's definitely interesting. I always like these ones that have a bit of a tie-in with like a physical real thing. So is it possible that the tales that we just read are were maybe very popular at the time, and maybe it was a story that was very popular, and maybe the people in the village carved headstones just as like
think it's
commemoration?
Maybe. Do you think it's possible that somebody else actually killed the two people that were husband and wife? Maybe she was having an affair with some other dude, and there was some sort of crime of passion or whatever.
Yeah,
when she said like, no, I want to stay with my husband in 18th century Ireland or whatever, and then he killed the two of them and blamed the Dorku, and everyone was just like, yeah, that seems right.
Yeah, maybe he's like a really scary lad and no one wanted to disagree with him, and they were just like, all right,
Yeah.
Jeff, fair enough, let's just leave it at that. Maybe people didn't particularly like the two of them and they were like, yeah, but the guy survived, didn't he? The guy that killed the Dorku, he lived, didn't he? So
maybe he killed the wife because she was just doing his head in or something.
So that's what I thought when I very first read about the Dorku. I was like, yeah, that guy was just pissed off with his wife and he just killed her, and then tried to make it out like as if it was a Dorku. He probably got his mate to go in on the story with him. His friend was probably the blacksmith dude or whoever he was that helped him out, and they killed her and just blamed it on the Dorku. And then maybe he got another one of his mates to make up the gravestones to sort of lend weight to his tale, you know?
Yeah, this is it.
So
who knows?
Yeah, what are you saying?
The other thing is like, I wonder how. If he did kill the Dorku, should there be like, would they have kept the bones or the body somewhere as like a trophy kind of a thing? Maybe it's just lost over time.
Yeah, there's no mention of it anywhere at all. So that's another good point. There's absolutely no mention of remains of the Dorku. But I think that's about it for the day, right?
That's the Dorku.
The Dorku wrapped up our first Irish cryptid, but not our last. For future episodes, perhaps. But
fucking leprechauns.
Yeah, we should actually do a leprechaun episode.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, guys, and if you did, let us know. All feedback's appreciated as well. Actually, feedback is good, Damon, I think.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, like if people want to, sort of, if they have any ideas or any cryptid that we should cover, do let us know. And cheers for listening, guys.
We're gonna be doing some interesting stuff as well soon.
That's right.
So it's not just gonna be like talking about this cryptid or that cryptid. We're gonna try mixing it up a little bit over the next couple of episodes because we're probably, I'd say, nearly about halfway through the season now, give or take.
Diversify our portfolio.
Yeah, we're gonna attract new clients. Diversify. It's other stuff, businessy type terminology. I don't know. Adapt to the markets. I don't know.
Yeah. That's basically it. And so let's leave it at that then. So I've been Rob.
And I've been Eamon.
That was smooth. And until next time, guys.
Oh Lord, Jitsu.